Thank you, Srinath, for wonderful introduction. And I thank my director and the co-organizer of this program for providing me opportunity to present some of the observations which we have carried out since 2017 along the Indian coastline. And this topic, jellyfish fisheries, unveiling the economic and social implications of a rising marine resource. And this has two sides, as you know, the direct and indirect effect of a jellyfish swarming. And the direct effect is net clogging in fishing, catch deterioration, and the fishing time, increased fishing time, because naturally when jellyfish infested water fishing, if carried out, the net will be clogged, and taking away the catch, the important varieties, sorting it out will take a lot of time. And as well, the drag, which will be more and increases the fuel consumption of the fishing operation. So all these are some of the problems fishing fleets face in India during jellyfish full bloom conditions. Sometimes they will cut away the nets to throw the jellyfish laden in the net. And indirect effects, if we see, it has a ecological effect like predation on eggs and larvae, and so that definitely would alter the recruitment cycle in the fish population of commercial as well as non-commercial, whatever it is. So we are bothered about the total ecosystems, either commercial or non-commercial, all are important in the ecosystem. So it impair the recruitment of all organisms and exclude competition, especially with the juvenile fish, for and as well crustacean planktonic. Actually, even I have personally come across during heavy bloom conditions, even planktonic collection itself is somewhat difficult, and the fishermen even used to say that there is no fish in the sea conditions also we directly faced. And when we comparatively analyze the jellyfish interference faced by the fisherman, and they have given the mean score mostly for reduced the fish catch. That point was given more points, and after that the increased sorting time was the biggest problem for them. After that, change of fishing ground, because if there is a jellyfish infested water, so they needed to change the fishing ground, but unfortunately that new area may not be a fishing ground that would offer good catch. So because of all these reasons, that interference, the negative interference, only mainly emphasized by the fisherman, and the jellyfish stings has been given only 2.49 points, mean points. If we have analyzed the perception analysis, actually that earlier analysis was carried out in a actually, as we have 9 maritime states, and this work was carried out in important states where fishery is operational, and one was in Andhra Pradesh and another was in Gujarat. And when you look at the Gujarat scenario, perception analysis shows that nearly 28% people say, fisher people say that the overfishing was the main cause for the jellyfish swarming in the coast waters, and 24% say about the eutrophication conditions, and only 10% says the translocation and habitat modification, because nowadays seawall constructions and shoreline protection activities are everywhere along the Indian coastline on the east and west coast. So that habitat provides ample opportunity for the jellyfish polyp to settle and grow, and such modifications also can increase the jellyfish bloom, and that has also been understood by the fishermen, and 11% of the people said about the habitat modification. And climate change, about 25% people perceived that climate change is also one of the reason for increased jellyfish swarm along the Indian coastline. These are all some of the perception analysis which we have carried out in our work in various parts of our country. And those are all the negative side. When we look at the positive side, because as a country we boast a vast majority of fisher population along the maritime states, and we earn several billion dollars of export revenue out of exporting seafoods, and we cannot simply ignore a resource which is very well available in our waters. So that is how in 1980 the jellyfish fishery was started by entrepreneurs along the Indian coastline, with mostly following the Indonesian method of processing. And as of now in India, the 4 species support jellyfish fishery: Crambenula annandale, Crambenula arseni, Ketostylus perisi, and Rhopalema hispidum. And we are proud to present this, the Crambenula annandale jellyfish, which was described by our first director H.S. Rao, still is valid, and it is support a vibrant fishery in Indian waters. So that we all from CMFRI proud of this, that the species is still a livelihood supporting variety. And about 500 to 1,000 million Indian rupees annually, and a conservative estimate shows that the fishery is happening in Indian waters. And here also 2 distinct swarming conditions we experience. Crambenula annandale is found exclusively on the east coast of India, and the white color one, and the Crambenula arseni, which you have seen along the Villinum coast also, the chocolate color one is restricted to west coast only. And this Crambenula annandale by far the superior variety in Indian condition, and because of its crunchy texture, that is most preferred by the exporter. So that is much sought after variety. And Rhopalema, actually Rhopalema, there are many species. Rhopalema esculindum is the topmost variety among the Rhopalema for export, but in India we have only Rhopalema hispidum. Nevertheless, this is also getting importance, and Ketostylus perisi also a good textured jellyfish, and that is also available. But Ketostylus perisi and Rhopalema hispidum is very much restricted to Gujarat waters, so processing is taking place only in that area. So distribution, very well defined demarcated distribution of all these 4 jellyfish in around the Indian coast, western, east coast, needs to be explored further. What makes them to available in a certain locality continuously? Why not in other areas? Because we need to harness much more revenue from these resources also, because that offers good scope for the livelihood of small scale fishermen. And when we estimate the landings, a case example of Andhra Pradesh, and I don't have a pointer, otherwise I would point it out. In 2017, 18 and 19, when we compared, actually Dr. Mark has questioned why we do not have a time series data. Sometimes the fishery is not at all operational, and that makes us, because the land, it will be very much available in the sea, but may not be available, the fishery may not be operational. Even now what you see for the case of Crambenula arseni, the resource is very much available in the waters, but there is no fishery because of no export is taking place. I will come to the end of this presentation about those issues. And month-wise variations of jellyfish landing, if you look at that, fishing seasons in Andhra Pradesh begin in March and end in July. And this also a slight variation occurs year to year. That is the inherent character of this jellyfish swarm. Interannual variability is so high that we cannot expect the same thing to happen year after year. And sometimes even in other parts of the country, as we have a nationwide monitoring program, and in other areas even the species composition also varies. Which one would dominate jellyfish ecosystems, so that itself varies. And the average monthly landing in 2018, which was estimated around 8,000 tons, in 2019 the same has drastically reduced to 300 tons. So when we look at the economic part of that, the total operating cost and gross revenue and all has been shown for the 3 years. That shows clearly that how erratic the fishery is, and not only the external conditions, especially the export market conditions, in the ecosystem itself, their availability is highly fluctuating. The operational cost details and cost and return analysis has been done by one of our scientists who is an expert in the economic analysis. That shows that in all the 5 landing centers in the Visakhapatnam district of Andhra Pradesh, the jellyfish is providing a better use of capital and labor productivity, and proved to be an economical for small scale fishermen. So though this is a highly seasonal fishery, and fishermen, especially the small scale fishermen, this is an additional revenue and livelihood opportunity for them. So this resource is very much appreciated resource by these fishermen along the Andhra Pradesh coast as well as in Gujarat coast. And when we look at the Gujarat coast, that is the longest coastline in India, the small scale seasonal fishery involved two species, as I told you, and there are two important places of operation in Gujarat coast. One is Jakayu and another one is Okha. And two seasons we have seen, November to December. Actually, in along the Indian coast, the winter blooming conditions is very much prevailing in Gujarat coast. Even now, there is a fishery is operational. We have received a video from the processor from Gujarat that we will be putting at the end of this presentation. And April, May, also there is a fishery in Gujarat, that is during the summer months. So winter and summer months, both the fishery is very vibrant in Gujarat coast, and about 100 million Indian rupees of trade annually takes place. This is only a conservative estimates, as already admitted by our Indian workers, that we do not have a monitoring effective mechanism in place, because these are all in infancy stage. It is upcoming and highly erratic. So a monitoring network, maybe this gathering would give a recommendation on that, and that will be followed up in the further sessions, and maybe in the next Jellyfish Bloom Symposium we will be able to give a better picture than this. And when we look at the landing statistics of ICAR-CMFRI and Jakayu fish landing centers, you can see that the total wet weight landed at Jakayu and target landing days from Jakayu all are shown, and how it varies from month to month and year to year between 2018 and 2019, shown in this graphical representation. When we look at the ICAR-CMFRI at Oka Fish Landing Center, similar to that, in November, you have the number of vessels employed from Oka is very high. That is winter bloom conditions, winter fishing, and especially in April, again, the highest number of fishing vessels is operated from Oka for that fishery. If you look at the activities relating to utilizing jellyfishes, you have a small video, and you can see that how it is collected by a small scale fishers operating along the Gujarat coast. ICAR-CMFRI species involved in this fishing. You see the bell is cut and just simply dropped in the ocean, so only oral arm is taken. So again, unlike the Sri Lankan condition, I do not know whether our question is there, and there the whole part of the jellyfish or entire jellyfish is utilized, but that is not the scenario in India. Only oral arm is used. And when you look at the jellyfish processing, that has a very lengthy process of 15 to 20 days time, the cleaning starting from the cleaning stage and ready for export, it takes 15 to 20 days of processing. As already indicated, alum is extensively used for drying up this highly water laden tissues, more than 90-95% is water, so that the alum gives the crunchy texture. That's why alum is used, but anyhow, that is biologically unsafe metal, and so maybe in future the alum free processing methods would be advocated for the Indian fishers also and processors also, so that the export market is continued without any disturbance. And when we look at the problems and the way forward, the fluctuation in demand in the export market, because primarily in India jellyfish is not at all consumed, though there are some amateur chefs along the Indian coast, they are showing up in a lot of YouTube videos that how to use jellyfish in the Indian cooking style, and but that is all a very novel attempt only in the restricted to media, but as such there is no consumption of jellyfish historically, even traditionally also. So that makes us that we to depend on the export market entirely. And recently also what happened, even you can see now there is no Caribbean large no fishery, and it is simply thrown, and because of the lack of demand from China. And the seasonal interannual variation of jellyfish swarms needs to be studied further, and especially in Korean waters, and especially in certain Chinese restricted bays, Rhopalema esculindum is sea ranged, and to sustain the fishery. Maybe in futures, maybe because we are looking at jellyfish as a resource, so high value species can be sea ranged. Such initiatives also in future, so we may able to take to sustain this fishery. And what happens, in India, as a fishery management practice, closed fishing season is practiced between 15th April to 15th June and the east coast of India, and it is slightly different on the west coast. So during that time only the jellyfish blooms. So what happens, you see, for the recruitment drive we are giving fishing ban, but that time only jellyfish blooms. So naturally what happens, the release the eggs and larvae would be the food for the jellyfishes. So it is better to remove them from the ecosystem so that a fishery is sustained, as well as the recruitment cycle of the fish fauna is will be enhanced. And as I already initiated the discussion, that umbrella is discarded, and umbrella bell is discarded, and oral arm only retained. And we need to have a practice and even a species where the whole body utilized for the processing. And as I already stated, the alum free processing needs to be introduced. And Crumbinella arseni is not favored nowadays because of its color in the export market. And so that's why the fisherman is not nowadays harvesting and allowing it to go. And the most preferred variety is in Indian condition, Crumbinella annandale. And thank you for the person for the passion listening of this.